it's Marianne, and for today's video, I'm sharing with you updates on my plants that I have up in poles. Thank you so much for joining me today, and in the previous video, I shared different types of poles and methods that I use to stake up my plants in hopes for them to mature faster and grow bigger leaves. So I'm going to share with you the updates today and also share with you a couple more different poles or ways that I am going to stake up my plants, which is going to be in the second part of this video. But before we get started, if you're new to my channel, hi, my name is Marianne. Welcome to My Wasteless Life, where I take you along my houseplant journey and share with you some of my tips and tricks along the way. I also share lifestyle content that is focused on sustainability, productivity, and wellness, and also share with you some of my personal and travel vlogs here and there. So if those type of content interests you, please don't forget to subscribe to my channel before the end of this video, and make sure you also like and comment down below. I would love to hear from you. But yeah, so let's go ahead and get started. So these are all the plants I currently have staked up, and I did stake up a couple more plants since my video on how to get your plants to grow bigger and mature faster by giving them poles. So first, let me share with you updates on the plants that I showed in that video. So first one is the skeleton Tea Pothos, and I gave it the cocoa coir pole, and I have since extended it because, as if you can see, the plant has grown a lot faster and a lot more since I have made that video. And while the plant is growing faster, it isn't maturing faster. So I'm really hoping that this plant produces mature leaves, because that is the goal with the skeleton Tea Pothos, is to give it that key shape that it is well known for, but so far it is still mostly juvenile leaves. And this one I have growing outside, so I think combined with the conditions of being grown outside, it is growing a lot faster, but it is not maturing faster yet. So I'm hoping by the end of the growing season, I would at least see the start of it maturing, already have some mature leaves by the end of the growing season. But I don't know how much more I could actually extend this pole before I have to kind of like chop and pop it again, but we will see. But I do like it growing vertically because it's not taking up a lot of space. So that is one of the advantage of having your plants climbing up a pole or growing them vertically. They don't take up a lot of space. And the other plant that I also gave a pole to is my Syndabso Silver Hero. So I kind of combined all the plants that I had. Initially I had this outside, but the sun was too much for it. The leaves were starting to burn, and I also had to cut off the growth because they were very leggy for some reason. So I cut it off, but now new growth is popping out. So I'm really excited about that, and it is kind of indoors and kind of outdoors. So sometimes I bring it in, sometimes I keep it outside, just depending on the weather, because I don't want the leaf to burn. But I think being outside would really help it grow faster, or at least shingle and not have that big gaps in between leaves. So I'm really excited about this Syndabso Silver Hero. If anything, giving it something to climb on, help it produce really huge leaves like this one here and over here in such a short period of time, especially in comparison to the leaves that it has started with. And the next one is my Maseratis Deadliana, which I have growing in a leca pole. So this one is made out of fiberglass, and I put leca in it instead of moss poles because it would just be a lot easier to separate the plant from the pole when time comes. And this one has been growing beautifully. It has actually started to attach itself to the leca pole, but it got removed or detached because I was like fiddling with it, and also because I had to cut off the top part because the leaves that it was producing was not variegated. It is starting to produce larger leaves, as you can see in comparison to the ones at the bottom. It definitely has been producing larger leaves, but it also started to shoot out leaves that are not variegated, and I kind of want to keep up with the variegation, so I did chop it off. But I do see a new growth point coming in that is looking like a little bit more variegated, so I'm excited for that. And I also have now done the same for the Monstera Stastliana elbow. I initially was trying to air layer it, so that's why I did give it a pole right away, but the air layering didn't work for me, or at least I didn't give it enough time for it to actually work. So I just decided to put it on the leca pole as well. But unfortunately, I couldn't find the other parts for the leca pole, like this one, like the stopper at the top. So I just put some sphagnum moss on top so that when it moves around or if it tilts, the leca won't spill off the pole. But so far it is doing well. I did put it in a clear pot so I could monitor the roots, and put it in this cash bowl temporarily. I need to find it a cash bowl kind of like this one so that it would have a better fit for it. But yes, I'm excited for this one to grow the same way as the Maseratis Deadliana elbow in the leca pole. And this one is my Sigonian Chia plants, which is probably the biggest success story out of all the plants that I have staked up or give a plank or pole to grow on. And this one is growing on a plank, which is a craft wood that I got from the dollar store. And as you can see, it has really attached itself, and actually it's due for an extension of the plank, which I honestly don't know how I'm gonna do yet, but I will figure it out eventually. But I also have this plant growing outside, so again, the conditions of being grown outside is also another factor that probably helped it mature a bit faster. Either way, I'm really happy with how well it is doing. And honestly, at first I was ready to give up on this plant and give it away, but now that it has been like growing really well, I think I'm gonna keep it as part of my collection. And I also have some pothos that I stake up in poles, but those pothos, the golden pothos, I have just planted outside, and I think the Manjula and the Marble Queen pothos I gave away. So I haven't really seen any results with them when it comes to attaching to the plank, and I've also been growing them outside. So I just decided to give away or do something else with those plants. So that is why they're no longer in planks or with me right now. But I did use their planks to put my Epipenum pinnatum variegata and the Philodendron splendid that I received from Arid Asia recently. And right now they're doing pretty well in the planks, especially since I have them in the IKEA greenhouse cabinet. But these are the two that I'm thinking of upgrading their planks today, which you will see later on in this video. And here are 3 more plants that I do plan on staking up sometime soon, if not today, which is my Silver Lady. As you can see, it has grown. It's like tiny pole that I gave it a long time ago. And then the Mycans maybe, and the Philodendron Cream Splash maybe. I think they would benefit from growing up, but I don't mind them as trailing houseplants as well. So we will see. Definitely the Silver Lady, but I might also do it for the Cream Splash and the Mycans. And lastly, the most recent one that I staked up is my Syndabso Silvery Ann. So my Silvery Ann has been a hanging plant for the longest time, and it has been trailing really long, and I kind of wasn't sure what I want to do about it because I don't want to upgrade it into a much larger pot that it was in. It was in like a 4-inch pot if I'm gonna keep it as a trailing houseplant. But recently a company reached out to me and said they want to send me their moss poles to try out, and I said yes. And the difference between their moss poles and other moss poles is their moss poles are bendable. So with this one, I tried to kind of like bend it a bit, give it a shape for it to grow on, but I kind of decided against it and just kept the pole straight because the moss it has easily falls off. And that's kind of like the one thing I don't like about this moss pole, but it is really cool that it is bendable. So I can show you the other ones that they sent me. So this one, as you can see, it could bend. It's still in the plastic. I don't want to take it out because like I said, each time I move it, the moss falls off. And they sent me a third one of this bendable moss pole that is currently outside that I'm going to show you later because I'm going to use it for one of the plants that I plan to stake up. But the one that I like is this one. So this one is made from hemp and not from moss. Even if I bend it, it keeps its shape and it also doesn't like drop any moss or anything. But with this one though, I haven't figured out which plant I'm gonna use it on. So I think I might use it eventually for my Hoya carrii so that I could give it support, but right now it doesn't need it. So if you're looking for a bendable moss pole, I recommend this one. So this one might not encourage root growth, like aerial root growth, but it is something that could provide support for your houseplants if all you're looking for is to give your plants support as they grow vertically or just to give them shape. But it's not a pole where you could encourage roots to grow. I don't know, at least that is my opinion. Maybe once I use it, I could actually get some plants to grow roots and attach itself to this hemp pole, but I don't think so. But I think it's really cool that you could bend it into any shape you want. And you could just like wrap your plants around here, especially like your trailing plants, like your pothos plants or your Hoya plants, and like, you know, give them a nice shape or a nice trellis to climb on. And the next moss bowl that I want to try out, this is something that I've actually been looking at when I first started researching different moss bowls or different materials that I could use to allow my plants to climb on. And this one is the D-shaped moss bowl. And I really like this one because it doesn't require a lot of moss because it is D-shaped, so it's half the size, and also the back part is enclosed so that it could lock in the moisture a lot better as opposed to something like this one where it's exposed on all sides, so it dries out pretty quickly. So I have one already assembled outside that I'm going to use and upgrade my philodendron splendid on, and as well as my Epipanum pinnatum. So let's go ahead and do that now. This is the D-shaped moss bowl assembled, which is pretty easy. I just have to make a couple of folds to put it together. I initially wanted my Philodendron Splendid to be on this moss bowl, but as I take it out of the sphagnum moss, I noticed that it's suffering from a bit of root rot and lost half of the root system it originally had. So I don't think it's ready to be potted up into a larger pot yet. So I took my Epipanum pinnatum variegata, which has a more vigorous root system, and it's better to be put on the moss bowl now compared to the Philodendron Splendid. I thought I was gonna pot it up in soil. That's why I took out the sphagnum moss. But in hindsight, I didn't really need to take out the sphagnum moss. And especially when you're propagating in moss, it's really best to just not take it out because it just damages the root system. So I just take out all the excess that doesn't have roots in it and just keep the rest. And next, I'm just filling up the D-shaped pool with moss. And it's actually a lot easier to fill it up when it is not enclosed yet. So I had to like reopen it and close it together, which is not a big deal. But I also try not to like fill it up too tightly because I want room for airflow as well as for the roots to grow on the sphagnum moss as it climbs up the pole. And the tricky part is getting it to balance in the pot, which I think this is why some people don't fill up the pool with moss right away. They just add on as the plant grows. But I was kind of worried that I'll be out of moss when the plant grows and it needs it and I don't have it on hand. So I just make sure to fill up the pool right away. But I was able to get it to balance. I just have to be very careful with it. And I'm placing it in a cash bowl just to like cover the pot and give it more support and balance. Next plant that I'm sticking up is my Syndabso Silvery Ant, and I am using the bendable pole that I got from Worth Garden. So I'm putting it in the 6-inch pot, and it's not going to be much of an upgrade since the pole is taking up some of the space and it is a bit root bound already in the pot it was currently in. So like the trick that I did in my first video, I positioned the plant first in the pole and then I pot it in the pot because I just find it a lot easier to do it that way. And with this one, I did pot it with soil and I just make sure to balance it in the pot. That's the tricky part with using moss bowls, especially when they are tall, is to balance it inside the pot, especially when you're using a smaller pot. But since it is a bendable moss bowl, I bended it half for now. And as the plant grows and it reaches the top, I'll just re-extend it. And yeah, so these are the two plants that I staked up today. One, the Epipanum pinnatum in the D-shaped pole. And then next to it is the Syndabso Silver Lady in the Worth Garden bendable moss bowl. If you're interested in any of these bowls, I'll link the product links down in the description. They're my Amazon affiliate links. And you can find the other posts that I used in my Amazon storefront. The link is also in the description. Thank you so much for watching. If you like it, please give me a thumbs up. If you're new here, please do subscribe. I come up with videos every week. And if you're feeling a little bit generous and want to show me extra support, please do consider sending me a super thanks. The button is down below. And any super thanks that you would send me will help support me and my channel and also help me create more and better videos for you all. And if you haven't yet, check out these videos up here until my next one. But until then, I see you, I appreciate you, take care of yourself and each other, and have a plentiful day. Bye!